So today I'm going to take you through the painstaking process of removing black hair dye from someone's hair. And this is a very exciting makeover because here on the ends of her hair is kind of the inkiest, darkest, blackest part, and it is the part that we want to be the lightest, brightest, and have the most lift. So we'll get more into that, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started with just removing the first few layers of this dye. I'm making sure that I'm applying it to her longest lengths first, because that's what's gonna get a lot more of those highlights and those teasy lights, those tipping out moments all through the ends. So I've uncovered her little, we did a tiny test strand for 10 minutes and you can barely see it, but a test strand is definitely an important part of this process. I know it's really hard for you guys to see this on camera, but yeah, it was only on for 10 minutes. And so we really went low and slow and just kind of wanted to reveal what's it gonna look like, you know? And that's what we're using right now is a 10 volume. You could use, there are different things that you can use to help reduce the color or to try to remove the color without just using lightener, but because we're going for blonde, lightener is going in immediately with what you know this is gonna work. We want to just get as much of the color off as possible and just try to see if we can get her to a really nice base. So the point of this right here is not to get her all the way to how light we want her highlights, and it's also gonna reveal what we're dealing with underneath this, because like this, we can't tell. But once that lightener gets on, bleach does not lie. It will tell us exactly what's going on. All these little pieces of dark hair dye still in there, I want it all gone. So we've got high hopes. And remember, this is only 10 volume. We're going low and slow, we're chilling. And I'm gonna start taking sections kind of at a diagonal back right here and apply to each section. I'll put another piece of foil underneath just to make sure that we're keeping everything nice and clean out of her face, making sure we get all those tiny little baby hairs and incorporate them all. And yeah, and just by taking these diagonal back sections, it's really helpful to just keep all of that lightener away from her face. So I can kind of start with my small section here, and I am just taking small sections and then I'm gonna bring them all back. And then bringing this down, and I'm just gonna kind of continue forward with these diagonal backs, bringing it down, and then pushing this hair forward so we can keep everything nice and tidy. Now again, I'm just gonna work through quickly because time is of the essence, and we will see you back when she is all ready to rinse. But I feel pretty good about the amount of like lift and the evenness that we have here in the mid shaft. I can already see. She did say that she had purple, so like a deep violet on there as well as the black, which is perfect, right? We're gonna wait until we get to a spot where we really think, okay, this is almost done. Then we'll take some of that lightener off and see if we're ready to rinse. So I'm combining all of the hair, kind of peeking through to see, just to make sure everything's incorporated, what parts are a little lighter, a little darker. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, like maybe there's some previous blonde underneath there, maybe, but it would be on the very, very ends of this hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna take a hair strand from the underneath. I'm gonna kind of like detach it from the rest of its friends. And I'm going to kind of remove the lightener all the way down and look at the different levels of lift, okay? So we've got from, of course, yellow, like a yellow level 9 at her root, which is easy to get, right? So we've got pretty quickly, it's like level 7, and then level 6 is like the lightest that we get. And so, which is nice, it's gonna be a really pretty brown, and then I just strand test. I'm taking my top and bottom finger and pulling, even though you can't see it, I'm kind of pulling to see if there's like some stretchiness to the hair and to feel how elastic the hair is. And if at any point the hair really stretches, it's still feeling pretty good. And then, yep, still pretty good. Now this is the perfect thing to show your clients if they want to lighten their black hair dye out of their hair. before they tone you darker, which is why trust your hairdresser, trust the process, because if we want your ends to be intact and your hair to still remain healthy, this is most likely, from 6 years of dyeing your hair black, what it's gonna look like. But now let's make it look like something else. So now I'm gonna go ahead and just apply that base color, and I'll meet you back to root melt it through. And we'll just keep checking in with you guys throughout the entire process, but root color's going on. He said that this process is a lot like managing expectations, and a lot of it is about that. The level 7, and I'm pushing the product in, fully saturating down through the ends, and then grabbing this opened wired kind of brush and just doing one nice big scoop, followed by my fingers just melting it all the way down, making sure we're nice and saturated, leaving that aside. And I'll just work my way up this entire section. So we're just gonna kind of apply, that level 7 from roots through ends, just to almost like get a little bit of a money piece going right off the bat, so that there's just something that has some kind of contrast through the front there. When I'm thinking about it twice, I'm like, maybe we can tone some of this out, because some of this was just a little bit lighter than the rest of her hair. And so I did 616, which is a darker shade, but then I met that with an 81 and a 1081. So at a level 10 and a level 8, mixed with a little bit of a level 6. I know that's a lot of numbers going on, but I really just wanted to really double up on that ash without it dropping all the way to black again, right? So we'll get those highlights in after this, and I feel like it's just gonna all blend a lot better than if we didn't do this whole process to begin with.
Now, something to note when formulating is obviously those roots were crazy looking, and we really had to contend with those. And it is your job to find that beautiful, balanced formula of warm and cool, and where to place each to get a result that blends well enough.
I'm going to mix up some Blonde or Plex with 20 volume, and I'm just moving her hair around, kind of checking out her base. How do we feel about it now? I would love to just go in and blast all of that with highlights, which next time, right? But we're gonna add sparkles all around her hairline, all throughout this kind of front money piece. I think there's some opportunity up here to add some highlights through here a little bit more as well. And then I might try adding just a few to extend to the lengths, because you don't want it to look like highlights and then nothing, right? The highlights everywhere, but we have to take into consideration what will actually lift and what won't. Because remember, just by us bleaching it, we know what lives under this now. And so we know we can go in with a plan of attack for our highlighting pattern. So I'm gonna start in her fringe, go around her face, work my way up to like a few foils in the crown, and then just pop a few little pieces out in the ends, and we will see you back soon.
I really thought that once we did her base, I would be doing like a full head of foils and, lifting everything. But because I already knew that with 20 volume, even upping the volume a little bit, the ends of her hair, I know what the lift is going to be, and it's still going to be at a level 6. So by adding in these highlights, you can see that we went for a little bit of an ashier base, and that was on purpose because that is her end goal eventually. So we're kind of compromising by adding in foils just where I feel like we'd be able to get just enough lift to kind of give the illusion of some warmth coming up through around her hairline and around her face, so that we can add a little more warmth there and to break up some of that brunette. It just means that, we've got a future after everything's healed and conditioned and ready for the second round of highlighting and love, maybe a few months down the road.
Highlights, and then we're just going to continue to add highlights as her hair heals and as it continues to lift and lighten and all of the things. So